All right. Are we gonna do that? We're gonna keep it that low, right in the grass? Okay, cool. So, my name is Evan Strong. I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, a clothing company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We're called In the Image Clothing Company because we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. So, we discuss the skeletal system. We talk about how the body is not about the fat content or muscle mass, but it's about the skeletal system. It's about a natural position that the body has that we work out of from there. We recognize our differences, right? Slight things or major things, surgeries, deformities, injuries that might set you apart a little bit. But within those things, we are all the same. I've had my own things, right? I've had two major open heart surgeries, some other surgeries. I've had things myself, being the founder, right? And so I understand. But yes, we focus on the relationship between the clothing we wear and our natural bodies. And our whole goal, our whole focus is to get our bodies back to natural, back to the way that they were designed by our God before we came into the world and got altered through patternings that clothing creates in our bodies and other things within the world that we use that are not shaped or really designed to work the way that our bodies do. Okay, so clothing is the only thing that is physically placed directly on our bodies at all times, so it's the only thing that has the potential to always physically alter our bodies because we're always wearing some form of clothing, right? Very specific times when you're not, but we kind of just have to, right? To be protected from the weather and the elements, or just, shoes to be protected from things we walk on. So clothing is the big one when it comes to the body. I've had a few prerequisites since before I even founded In the Image Clothing Company. They will always stay the same, okay? And that is, firstly, to lace your shoes within the Image Clothing Company's technique. You can find that all over where we have our information, our media, our videos, right? We do have our official domain, InTheImageClothingCompany.com. Today's the 5th of October, 2024, and as of now, that's still being built, but that's where you can go to find us, but also just anywhere on the internet, right? But the lacing technique, which I'm not really going to, well, I'm going to show it. This video is just about shoes. It looks just like this. It's the exact same on each side, but really the exact opposite on each side because we have two sides of the body. You do that same thing going all the way up, right? Pairing that with just tying your shoes evenly, okay? Take the outside over the inside, right? And then on the left foot, same thing. Take the outside over the inside, right? That goes for every shoe you ever wear. That's the first prerequisite, and I have two of them, right? The second part of that is removing the tags from the tongues of the shoes or anywhere within them up through the entirety of all the clothing you wear. And I've made videos personally going into those tags and where they're placed in modern day clothing and what they do to affect the human body universally, right? The universal human design, as I call it. So we have very, very bold claims here that are true, how we shouldn't have to stretch within our own situations, right? If you got your own things, that's one thing, but we shouldn't have to stretch unless something very major happens. We shouldn't have to exercise or work out to get up to a certain capability level just to be able to like operate and do what we do, because the body is designed to work, again, within our own individuality and our own things, right? But really, it is broad spread. Unless you've got something that sets you apart quite a bit, it's the clothing. And I've gone into it in such great depth. We speak on nothing but undisputed truths here at In the Image Clothing Company, universal truths that apply to every human across the entirety of the globe, okay? So this video, I do quite a lot of videos on shoes, even though In the Image Clothing Company, being a clothing company, we're not going to be selling shoes. But you know, shoes are the foundation of our body, living on a vertical globe, right? We have a natural center line. If not, we'd either fall over or we'd be using stabilizing muscles in ways they aren't designed to just try to stay up, right? If we aren't in our natural center line. And most people are not. And just doing what I said here with the point is, people are normally tying their shoes toward the same direction, and that alone will just take your entire body and really put the side of your body that's being tied into external rotation, the side you're tying a knot toward, that entire side of your body is getting destroyed universally across all humans. Mine was until I was 24 years old last year, okay? So, in this video though, what I'm going to do is figure out why I'm choking, because I don't know if I'm saying something wrong or leaving something out or what, but I've talked about all the time how barefoot shoes, which is what these are what I would say is the best. Not out of an opinion, right? Because I don't want to make it sound like I'm just sharing my opinion on that. But knowing what I know, having the understanding of the human body in its universal design that I do, barefoot shoes are amazing for the body. Okay, universal body across all humans. Everybody, unless you really, again, do have a deformity or a very different, uniquely to you foot, everybody has the same amount of tendons and bones and ligaments and muscles within the foot and ankle and traveling up, right? You sit within an anatomy class and you learn the skeletal system of the human body, and it applies to pretty much every single person across the globe. And there's very, 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 very small percentage of people that it might not apply to because of things like a deformity, okay? And that's fine. But we're, giving a broad spread video. We are saying things that apply to everybody, unless you are very uniquely different, and that really is okay. But then you're different, right? And you know what I mean. Hear that correct? But yeah. So barefoot shoes, I've talked about many times. I love these. I've also discussed how Xero shoes, Xero, right? The brand is my my most recommended barefoot shoe brand. It's my favorite, and I don't want to say that out of just listen to my opinion on it, but because of reasons I'll explain here. But the reason for this video is kind of like a shoe checklist, if you will. Checklist on what shoes need to allow the universally designed human foot to just be a foot. So obviously, because it's in the Image Clothing Company's prerequisite, me being the founder, the lacing and tying even is just, that's a must, but that can be done within any shoe that just has eyelets, right, in the traditional way on the sides, and you put a lace through. You can do that with everything, and do it with everything, because all it does is just allow the shoe to fit on the foot like a glove would on the hand, right? Just to allow it to do what it would do. The lacing pattern creates the shape of a foot, and then the tying it evenly over toward the inside just allows the ankle to do what it would do with that nice natural gait cycle, right? And I've done a video personally on the natural walking human gait cycle, barefooted in the grass. You can go find that within the Image Clothing Company content. But I love these, okay? And when I say stuff like that within this video, but then I also say things like we don't have opinions that we are pushing. When I'm saying I like something within clothing, it's not some like me being desirous over it. It's I like it coming from being the founder of the Image Clothing Company, knowing what I know that the body needs within clothing designs to allow it to work. Okay, so throughout this video, if I do say things that sound like opinions on shoes, really what I'm saying is I like it because I understand what the body needs universally, right? And this being whatever thing I'm talking about that I like is something that is good universally for all humans because of the body's skeletal structure, okay? That's important to say for this video. But I love these. These are the Denvers. These are Xero Denvers, right? Xero brand, Xero, the Denver model. and they actually discontinued this. This is the model that they had before they discontinued it, and then now they actually came back with it. But as of today, the date that I said, I don't have any affiliation with Zero Shoes, with any branding of anything at all, period. Today, right? Today's date, I do not. Maybe one day we could have some kind of affiliation with Zero, and that'd be awesome. Zero Shoes, right? XERO. But I want to be very clear, as of today and from this point back, I have never had, up until today, any kind of affiliation with any brand of anything, okay? So, yes. But these are great because the amount of, I don't want to like hurt them. I'm not going to hurt them, like damage them necessarily, but they're my shoes, and I just don't, you know, I want them to fit on my feet how I need them to. But Zero Shoes are very, very, very thin, okay? I mean, what you see on the side, as far as the thickness of that sole, that is the thickness. There's no insole. They come with them, but I remove them. Times and places, right? But I remove them. So they're, I mean, this sole is somewhere between 5 and 10 millimeters thick, right? Very, very thin sole, very, very light. So the thing with barefoot shoes is, and I did a video on, I called it Barefoot Shoe Truths. A lot of brands now make barefoot shoes. They're getting pretty popular, and that's wonderful because, like I said, what they universally do to people's feet, meaning what they allow people's feet universally to do, right? That's great, but a lot of barefoot shoe companies are just making shoes that are so wide. It's just not good at all. I've talked about, I did a video called Natural Foot and Ankle Health, right? I've talked about the foot all the time, the natural gripped arch, internal rotation, good nails on the toes, slight outward bow, traveling up the legs into a posterior tuck of the pelvis, active core, neutral stance, right? Everything stacked with a slight bend, active. Like I've talked about the body. Like I say, we are so much more than just a clothing company. This is actually going to be the 101st video that I have made personally for In the Image Clothing Company. Most all of my videos average around a half hour long. Like I know what I'm talking about with the human body itself and its relationship with clothing. And a lot of barefoot shoe brands, they just don't know what they're doing. And I don't care how that sounds, it's the truth, because the foot has to grip inward to create an arch. Again, every foot, unless you're very, very uniquely different, is universally designed to grip an arch inward and stand on the outside of the feet naturally, before altered through worldly things. I mean, I did a video called Toddlers Are the Natural Example, right? And you can watch how toddlers walk. If you get a toe box that's too wide, toe box meaning like just like from the forefoot up, right? I mean, like this area, you'll see a lot of barefoot shoes and they'll look like this, like they'll come out so much at the top. Now you're just collapsing your arch into external rotation because your foot within each step or even just standing will like try to find the edge of the inside of the sole. And if it's so wide, you're going to go into external rotation, and that's just a really bad position for your body to be in, right? And again, this is not opinion. I've gone over all of this in such very, very great depth within all my videos. I did a video called There Is a Lot to Internal Rotation. I went into that in very great depth. Internal rotation is what is so chronically lacking in people in 2024. A lot of it's what we do, you know, putting us into external rotation that is different than we even had in the past. But a lot of it also is just lacing techniques, collapsing arches, pushing the feet out. Lots of things that I've gone into, right? So we need within shoes them to be wide enough to where it accommodates for the foot and does not pinch off that pinky toe, okay? A lot of times you get wearing on the outside of your shoe where your pinky toe is. I did a video yesterday on why shoes wear out so quickly, right? But your foot is wider than this. Because proportionately, right? I mean, if this shoe was like a size 8 instead of a size, I think it's a 12. I took the tag out, but I think it's I think it's a size 12, right? I've got pretty big feet. I'm 6'2", but let's say it's a size 8. Proportionally, the design is going to stay the same. So this width will be the same for the size of shoe that it is, if you can see that. That's not how wide a foot is, universal. I mean, yes, people are slightly different, but no, I mean, again, proportionally, it'll stay the same in the design from size to size. So, I mean, I've worn these. I bought these at the thrift store, and they work, right, for certain things. I bought them because it's going to start cooling down, and we get a lot of snow here in Utah, the state of Utah, right, in the United States of America. And so they're leather, or I think they are actually genuine leather, so that they'll be okay for what I need as far as keeping my feet warm in the snow. I'm not going to be out there in the snow for a long time walking. My feet will be okay in these, but you don't want to be restricting your foot at all, because again, all we're doing here at In The Image Clothing Company is getting our bodies back to, or keeping them in a state, if we haven't been altered, which is very rare, but we need them to be natural, the way they were designed, because we don't get to tell them what to do. I talk about that all the time, how I can't tell my body what to do, he can't tell his body what to do, and she can't tell her body what to do, because it just does what it does. And that's how I say we shouldn't have to stretch, is because if we aren't altering the way that it's designed to work, then it will work, right? But we're altering it through all the stuff that we go over here at In The Image Clothing Company, right? So, yeah, the toe box needs to be wide enough. Like these shoes that I'm wearing here, they don't have a nice flexible sole, right? And I've gone over that. I actually made a video in these shoes that I'm wearing called "It's Not Your Feet, It's Your Stiff Shoe Soles." I don't know exactly what that title was, but it was something very similar to that. You go find it. But if you can see, the toe box is, wider on this than on this, meaning like this area up here is wider, allowing for my foot to be able to, be much less restricted. It's still a little bit restricted in this. I still feel it on the outsides of my feet, on my pinky toes, a little bit. But these shoes are actually pretty great in that sense. The size inside of the shoe to allow for my foot to be there. But like I was saying, the sole does need to be flexible enough to where your foot is pretty similar to how it would be if it wasn't encapsulated in something, right? Because the only reason we need to wear shoes is to protect us. We don't wear shoes to strengthen our feet, because what they're doing, all of them, even these Zero Denvers, and this is me saying something bad about them, these are amazing shoes, but putting something on your body is restricting it, no matter what, because it's unnatural. That's what I always say with In The Image Clothing Company, being this company that I founded. We almost always only take things away. Anytime you add something, it's unnatural. Your body by itself is natural. So that's not always bad though, because we need to be able to protect our feet. If I'm walking, especially on man-made asphalt, which I do a lot in shoes, right? Just meaning if I wasn't in shoes walking on asphalt, it's a man-made thing that's pretty hard, and flat is the big one. But we need to be able to protect our feet, but doing it as we are here at In The Image Clothing Company, minimal, right? Doing it in a very minimal way to where it's still light. So you're not having to, and that's one thing with these ones. Again, I like these a lot, but they're pretty heavy. I mean, they're probably 2-3 times, probably around 3 times as heavy as one of these, one of each of these shoes, right? This is going to be probably 3 times heavier than this one. It's heavy, and you can hear that. I mean, that's the sole. This one, it's so thin and flexible and light. So yes, the inside area, right, to allow and accommodate for the shape of the foot, and this does it pretty well. I'm gonna say this just because I don't want to say anything bad about Zero as a company, because I love them, but again, I don't have any kind of affiliation with them. I just want to be honest. some Zero shoes even are too wide for what I would appreciate, right? And I'm not trying to say anything bad about it, but I love these Denvers. They're a really good middle ground. But I will say this too, Steven, the founder of Zero Shoes, I've noticed when he's giving like his, he'll stand there and make a video when he has a new product, a new shoe, and he'll like talk about it and what it does and why it's designed the way that it is. And I've noticed when he talks about the toe box width, he says wider toe box. A lot of barefoot shoe companies will say wide toe box. And I'm pretty sure he's being pretty intentional about saying wider, because it's wider than most shoes, but it's not excessively wide within Zero shoe designs. For the most part, they're pretty good middle ground as far as like they pretty much hit it right, hit the size correct. Yeah, so that's a big one. It's just allowing the foot to have room to be what it is and what it would do without having excess play. And again, that's what I went into within that video I mentioned on barefoot shoe truths, is what I titled it. You don't want them too wide, okay? Universal across all humans. It's not my opinion, because yeah, what it does, and I went into it in that video. So that's a big thing, is just the inside space to allow for your foot to be there. And then, like I said, also the sole should be ideally pretty flexible to allow your foot to really do its thing still. Because I mean, again, I don't want to like push on these too much. I'm not going to damage the shoe. I don't want to make it seem like this is a fragile shoe, but because it's my own shoe and I know what I want and need within my own shoes, right? But it's just very flexible sole. It allows your foot to just really activate. I mean, imagine wearing a glove that's like very stiff, thick glove versus a glove that's thin but still great materials to where it's protective, but then you can actually really move your hand. That's why your shoes are making your feet sore, because they're stiff. And that's what I went into in this other video I was talking about. But yeah. One thing also, though, I do really want to mention is arch support is a myth. It's a myth, okay? And I think I've discussed this within other videos here and there. But arch support within shoes is a myth. I have shown personally on my own bare feet how an arch grips. I mean, I always talk about how an arch grips. Again, it's the foundation of our bodies. If you do have legs and feet and you can stand on both of them, if not, that's fine. But if you can, you have to let them do what they would do, right? Your upper body will be affected if your lower body isn't working. I always say that if there's something within the body that is not working correctly, because it's being inhibited really is the point, then something else and many things within the body have to compensate. So an arch grips. I mean, it physically, literally grips like a hand would, like this. That's how your feet work, right? I can tell you how your feet work as long as they're like, pretty general feet, because there is a universal human design. And if you put something under that arch, it will collapse. It can't grip having a nice space under it for those tendons to contract and, rolling onto the outside of the foot. If where those tendons are contracting and the muscles that build and support the arch from within the foot, if there's something in the way of those, they can't do their thing, right? They really can't. I don't care what your podiatrist has told you, I don't care what anyone's told you. It's truth. Your foot cannot have a natural arch with something underneath it claiming to support it, right? And Steven from Zero Shoes actually does this, where he stacks blocks into an arch and then he supports it, quote unquote, from the center, and it collapses, right? I mean, an arch, what supports an arch is itself, right? So yeah, I mean, arches are like the strongest. I mean, I don't really know if they're the strongest. I don't want to say that if it's not quite correct, but arches are so very strong. When you see bridges, they build them with an arch. Arches are very, very strong. They support themselves, right? And actually, the more weight you put on the top of an arch, the more it reinforces its stability. And so that's why your feet have arches. I mean, we didn't get to decide that, right? Again, we didn't design our bodies. So arch support is an absolute myth. It is damaging your body, period and done, no matter who you are. In my case, if I were to wear arch support within the soles of my shoes, the insoles, it would be damaging my feet and the rest of my body. It's not supporting anything. It is collapsing your arch, okay? And so that might be another reason why they lace shoes so incorrect nowadays from the factory, because if it's collapsing your arch, having what, again, they call arch support, which is just so damaging, and pushing your arch out, essentially, because if you collapse something that's gripping in, it'll fall out into external rotation. And then the way that most shoes are laced nowadays is actually putting you into that same position. That's just not how the body works, universally across all humans. I don't care how offended you get on that or what your doctor has told you. I do not care. That's not how the foot works. So that might be why, and I've thought about that, I think that's why they lace shoes so, like, pretty much exactly backwards, pressing the arch down nowadays, because the arch support, quote unquote, that is a myth, that is damaging your body universally to all humans, is collapsing your feet out anyway. And people are, right, you see the pattern, you see people sitting like this. I can sit and move and stuff, and it's not about me, but that's what we do here, is give free truth, information to all humans on what they can do to allow their body to work as it was designed, right? So, yeah, in the Image Clothing Company, we speak on truth. I don't care about your doctor's opinions. I care about the truth of how your body works, because they all work the same. So, yeah, I don't care about doctors' opinions. Okay, the other thing is, I mean, I've been told I needed surgeries that I didn't have, and I'm way better off now having not had them, right? Things like that. I mean, yeah, we speak on universal truths here. But the other thing is, too, another, like, thing within this checklist, you know, of what you do need within shoes because of the universal designed human foot, right? Same bones, muscles, tendons, ligaments, same workings within all humans. When you lace your shoes, they should stop at the ankle, okay? Right where the ankle is going to flex and pivot, like right at the, like, peak pivoting point, if you will, that's where it should stop. So even though these are high tops, and even though these are, I call them boots, I don't know, maybe they're just high tops, but I'd call these boots personally, right? Even though these are going to go above where my ankle is flexing, both of these shoes, well, I mentioned how much I love these Denvers. The thing is, if you stop the lacing right at where the ankle is going to flex, then your ankle is not restricted. That's another myth. It is a myth. If you support your ankle with something external, your ankle can't do its job. You are not supporting it. In very certain times and places, maybe that'd be okay, but you are not supporting your ankles by restricting their movement. What makes your ankle strong is by allowing it to have its full range of motion and allowing all the muscles and tendons and ligaments within the ankle to do what they were designed, outside of our say, to do, right? So if you think you're supporting them by not allowing them to work, they're going to get weak. You're not supporting them, you're actually weakening them, just like the arches. You are not supporting your arches. With arch support, you are weakening your entire foot, okay? That is truth. I don't care what your doctor has told you or what the podiatrist says, or podiatrist is just a foot doctor, right? I mean, I don't care. It's not true. It is an absolute myth to support your body with things to help it. Very certain times, in certain cases, right, maybe, but no, I mean, in these cases, with a natural body that has all of its function, and even if it doesn't, that's not a problem. I just mean, like, right, it's a lie. It's a myth. It is universal truth. I mean, yeah. So, anyway, stop the lacing right at where your ankle bends, right? Yeah. Because what'll happen if you're trying to support your ankle through, like, lacing your shoes up really high and, like, tightening something around your ankle is now your knees are taking more of a beating, and your glutes and hamstrings and quads and back and shoulders and neck and head are compensating for the lack of mobility that your ankle would naturally have, right? It's no claim of mine that I'm like pretty much dogging on doctors right here. It's the truth. I mean, your ankle, if it can't do its full range of motion, then what'll happen is something like your pelvis, your hips will then go anterior to try to like lift your toes in an artificial way. You know, you want to be able to be tucked posterior and active in the core, right? And fully have like a lot of dorsiflexion, meaning your foot coming up, without having to like compensate somewhere up your body. I did a video one time called, just I want to talk about this deep so you don't think I'm just like having some kind of accusation out of like a hurt feeling or something. No. I did a video one time called The Problem with Specialists, and I went over that, right? I talked about the knee pain I had for so many years, and how knee pain, because the knee is just a very simple straight hinge with very slight rotations, right? But pretty much just a simple straight hinge. Tiny bit of internal rotation like toward the end and stuff, but if you have pain within your knee, I talked about this within that video, unless you've actually had an injury physically hitting that knee or tearing like a ligament or a tendon or something within the knee, then it's either a problem with your ankle or foot or your hip, something at the end of the hinge, right? Because if my foot's just nice and neutral and straight, right, which is actually slightly in because the way that an arch works, right? But then my knee can just hinge straight. But if my ankle is being altered, now my knee can't hinge straight. Similar thing here with something like ankle support, quote unquote. It's a myth. If you support your ankle, well, that's what I was saying here. Now your knee will be working differently because all of this flexion and, you know, plantar flexion and dorsiflexion within the ankle and all the rotations. I mean, look how much movement's within my ankle, and I'm sitting in a position that's not quite, you know, just like normally extended, right? And I still have all this motion and range, right? Even within this stiff sole too. If I had something around my ankle, just meaning the upper of like a boot, right? And I was thinking I was supporting my ankle by constricting it with like laces. No, something else. I mean, it's your hips, your knees, your back, right? Again, your pelvis will go anterior with it to try to like lift your feet because they can't lift if there's something in the way, right? It's a myth. It's a myth universally across all humans. Don't try to support your ankles. Don't try to support your arches. No, allow your body to do what it would do, and it will be naturally strong to your own capability within your own situation. It'll just do what it's supposed to do, right? So yeah, I don't care whose feathers I ruffled with that or how accusations I sound. That's truth, okay? Again, undisputed universal truths is what we speak on here. We can discuss them and describe them in ways to where there's no, I mean, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter if we're trying to push opinions. If they aren't true, they aren't true, and they are what we speak on here at In The Image Clothing Company. So, yeah, do not try to support your ankles. You will have a sore body, right? You'll walk 2 miles and your entire body will be like feeling it. Stop supporting, quote unquote, your ankles and your arches. Allow your soles to be pretty flexible, right? And lace your shoes correct, tie them even, and you can just go do whatever your body can do within your own situation, which is going to be so much more than you're used to if you have been doing these kind of things, right? So anyway, I'll remove the tags, but that's a prerequisite, right? So anyway, yeah. What I also want to talk about, though, is a lot of times you'll have arch support within shoes, and it's disgusting. But you won't have arch support in shoes like this, okay? Because you have a nice, solid sole. Because even though Zero shoes have a very, very thin sole and it's flexible, it's very solid, okay? Thin, flexible, but still solid. When we have these disgusting modern shoes that are just like, it's like you're walking on a cushiony cloud, well, it seems appealing because it's like Same thing as like laying on a couch. It seems appealing, but if you lay on a couch, I did an entire video called How Rest Weakens the Body. The body only works how it works. I did an entire video called The Body Only Has One Position, right? And I talked about how from this natural position, this activated muscles throughout the entire body, we can hinge and we can bend and we can reach and we can pivot and we can do what we need to from a neutral active core position with internal rotation. And the point is, it's a natural position we'd be in until altered through clothing and worldly things. But anyway, I within the other video I was talking about how rest weakens the body. Again, it's universal truths, but if you don't know, you don't know. If you're laying on a very soft, comfy, quote unquote, because it seems comfy, couch, your body, all your muscles are being deactivated because they only work in one position, like that video I made, right? And this, again, it's truth. I don't care how it sounds or where your understanding is at the current time. You don't have to know this yet, but it is truth. So, same thing, like, yeah, you sleep on a couch and it might seem comfy, but then you wake up like, oh man, like you just got hit by a truck. Sleep on a pretty firm, flat bed with no pillow, right? I did a video on how sleep affects body mechanics. And then your body's going to be able to operate, correct? But, yeah, universally across all humans, okay? But this, the thing with soles of shoes is if you have a really squishy, cushiony, like cloud marshmallow type sole, same thing as sleeping on that couch. I mean, your foot can't activate, right? Just like sleeping on that couch, your muscles can't activate if they're being like pushed on in weird ways and your body's being pushed out of its center. If your arch is being like squished out of its natural workings, gripped arch, right, with a good firm foundation, if you have this cushiony pillow for a sole of a shoe, you're going to just have weak feet, right? I, in that case, wearing cushiony, marshmallowy, pillowy shoes would have weak feet, right? And you see how my body works. I founded this company around the human body. It's not about us selling clothing. I mean, we will, but, right? So yeah, you do not want cushion within your shoes. It's a lie. It's a myth. And I don't know if they're trying to lie necessarily. I'm not trying to like accuse people of lying within like footwear industries, but it's a myth. People are so out of touch that it seems appealing, right? Just like all these, I just don't want to get off topic necessarily, but just like the bed companies, mattress companies, they're making these super cushiony mattresses that you fall into. Well, falling doesn't sound very good if you're trying to stand vertical and strong, right? If you're trying to be active and healthy, falling into sleep, like, no, you want to just be on a firm surface that's flat. Again, universally across all humans, it's not my opinion, but people are so out of touch. I was as well for so long, right? It's not an accusation, but it's now I have to speak very boldly on truth since I know it, right? So, yes. Again, fruits of the laboritude. Look how my life is, meaning how my body operates, and it did not before. As we build the community that is In The Image Clothing Company, we'll have testimonials of people saying these things, right? Discussing how, yes, this is truth. No matter what the industries are telling you or what generations have come to believe, truth is truth. It does not change. So the body does not change. Anyway, yeah. What I was saying though is these shoes, because they have a pretty firm sole, it's good to be firm, but ideally not so stiff that it can't flex, right? This is very firm, but malleable, right? Shoes like these, for example, they have a flat sole, no arch support whatsoever, and that's ideal, right? Because, I mean, the point is, I mean, it gets so obvious, and I don't expect people to see this. I didn't know either, right? But once you do see, it's like, when you're walking on the grass, is there something supporting your arch? No. And is it natural to walk barefooted in the grass? Yes. Okay, I mean, the grass is natural, the body is natural. That's the whole thing. Again, when you take everything away and just get to the body itself, that's what we do at In The Image Clothing Company. Again, it's about removing everything that we've added, worldly things, and getting down to the basis of what we did not design, what our God designed, which is our body by itself. So once we do that, and that's how you can approach anything within anything you do in life. If my body, you can think about it this way, if my body were to not have anything on it or added to it, how would it want to work? And that's how you can know what is natural and what is not natural, because this can never change. You can remove all the things you want and your body will not change. You do not have control over that or a say over that, and neither do I, right? No human to ever live equals sinful humans. So that's where you can come from when you think about arch support, or you think about a cushiony sole, or you think about restricting your ankle claiming to be supporting it, right? And I'm not trying to be accusations if you don't know, but it's not true. It's not a support, it's a hindrance, okay? So, yes. Again, it's undisputed truth, because everybody can do that. If I were to remove everything from me, besides me being our bodies, what would be there and how would it work, right? Do that within your own self. Don't let me tell you something, but let me relay truth, right? Meaning I'm going to do it no matter who's trying to let me or not let me. Anyway, I think that's mostly it. I've also talked about before, I did a video called Flat versus Round, discussing, as I always do, right? What's natural? Round things are natural. Tree trunks are round, right? Sure, blades of grass are flat, but they are not something that you're going to be like putting tensile strength on, right? Round things are very natural, so round shoelaces, just going along with the checklist of shoe things, right? So, yeah. And then ideally, if we can, natural materials, right? Just like everything, just like I've discussed within this video as well, the body is natural. We are pulled from the clay, but we also just become what we eat. I mean, you can't grow from being a little baby to, in my case, 6'2", unless what I've eaten has become me, right? But really, I've become it. I mean, we are just the earth. We die and we decompose back into it, and our spirit goes on, okay? Again, that's just how it works. I'm not trying to claim something. I mean, how else are you growing? You know, I mean, yeah, the point is there's no other way. So, I'm going to run over everything kind of that I touched on as far as like checklists for things that are good to have within shoes. Universally designed human beings across all of the globe, no matter where you're from, what you look like, your height, your weight, your gender, right? I mean, skeletal system wise, sturdy sole, but thin to where it's pretty flexible, allowing your foot to still have some dexterity in it that's naturally there, okay? Wide enough toe box and just area within the foot, within the shoe, to allow the foot to not be restricted physically by the like width of the shoe, right? Lacing and tying, obviously, if you know, in the Image Clothing Company with our technique, right, just universally allows the shoe within the design's capability to fit like a glove on the foot, okay? Stopping the lacing at right where the like peak flexion of the ankle, if you were to dorsiflex your ankle, would be, okay? Round shoelaces if you can. I'm not trying to tell you have to go buy new things, but it really is very beneficial to have round. And ideally something that is not stretchy, right? I just go over that all the time. We don't want anything stretchy within our clothing at all, because again, if the body were by itself, there would be no stretch to try to accommodate to. No arch support. It is a myth that arch support is supporting something. It's actually collapsing your arch. I think that's about it, right? Obviously, the other prerequisite, removing the tag from the tongue of the shoe or anywhere inside of it. But that's about it, right? Oh, well, a heel. I've gone over this before, but this video is a checklist. I should include it in here. Again, if you take everything away from your natural body, no opinion, but just the obvious truth once you think about it. If you have a heel on your shoe, well, would you have a heel underneath your physical body's heel when you're walking barefoot in the grass? No. So do not have a heel under your shoe. Okay, it alters your calf length, it alters your pelvis position, it changes the activity of the muscles from the posterior chain, where the strength actually is within the body, and the hamstring and the glutes and the calves and the rear of the body. It changes that activation towards the quads, and there's very little to no strength in the quads, and also that will place you into external rotation by itself, just having a heel. Even if they're laced and tied correct, I mean, you can try to be internal, but the muscles that are activating are actually external rotating muscles, right? The muscles on the anterior part of the body. Yes, no heels. So I'm not being accusations with this stuff. I wore 6-inch leather boots with an inch tall Vibram sole heel, right? laced pretty much all the way up, except I think the highest eyelet, right? Cinched up, laced incorrect, tied uneven. Not only tied uneven, but then I would tie it, right? I'd wrap it around the back and I'd tie it again. I wore those for like 3-4 years, okay? So I'm not sitting here just like trying to be accusacious because I know what's going on and like I'm like, you know, talking down on people. No, I'm speaking out of experience. That was terrible for my body. I went through a lot of pain. That was the time period where I had all the pain in my knees and my shoulders, you know, going to physical therapy. It never fixed me, but then now, right, lacing and tying my shoes correct and doing all of the things within this checklist, right, just trying to allow my foot to be what it would be if it were to not have anything on it, because that is natural, right? We remove everything and that is natural, okay? Leather, waterproof, 6-inch boots, stiff sole, inch tall heel like I was wearing for years is very, very unnatural. Laced, collapsing my arches, laced unevenly, twisting my entire body, putting my entire right side into external rotation, all of these things, right, that I go into in such very great depth, universal truths of what clothing does to the human body. I was doing all of these mistakes, if you will, for so many years as well. I'm not accusing people, but I'm hitting it very bold and blunt because there is truth, and I have now found it, okay? Truth is apart from us. We always mention that here. No matter how bold we get and how accusatious we sound, you have to hear, please, just for your sake, hear what we are saying, not what you think we are saying. Because you can get all offended all you want for something we didn't even say, right? I'm speaking on universal truths that are unchanging, but if you're hearing them and getting offended because your doctor told you that you could benefit from arch support, and I'm saying truth, that it is a myth, and that can't be denied if you are actually like getting down to the truth of it that does not change, then I don't care how offended you get, or your doctor, or whatever, right? Because this is what will actually help you. And what they are saying is actually going to damage your body. Truth, okay? All right, so anyway, today is October 5th, 2024. My name is Evan Strong. I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, a clothing company that is so much more, as you can tell within this video, than just a clothing company, okay? We will have clothing available. We will always incorporate 100% natural materials within our clothing, right? We will never have any kind of tags protruding from the insides. The clothing will sit where it has to on the universal human design. Again, another one of those universal truths, skeletal system-wise, the way that the body operates and the only way that it actually operates, not like you're pushing through things thinking you can do what you want and then like playing around with your foam roller and your stretching routines. I mean, allowing the body to do within our own situations what I say and not have to stretch and to be able to do things. I went on a 12-mile walk yesterday, came home and just, you know, continued through the day. I do that almost every day, 12-mile walk. And the point is, I'm no different, but we just have to allow our bodies to do what they would do. So within our designs, we will incorporate pants sitting above the hips entirely, slightly higher in the front than the rear, shoulder seams on top of the shoulders sitting behind them, and the ones at the edges sitting right at the very edges, right? Just to allow the body to hinge and pivot and move and rotate and do what it would do, with being ideally not restricted at all. But again, if we're placing anything on us, it's restricting us in some way, just because we've added something to our bodies, okay? So those things will always be incorporated within In the Image Clothing Company designs. If you ever do purchase anything from us, just purchase it in your size. That is the whole entire intent of us making clothing at all, okay? So, I mean, just try your best. If you're purchasing it online or whatever, I mean, I understand. I'm not trying to be like mean, like you didn't purchase it in your size, but just don't purchase it oversized. We've talked about that here before too. Oversized clothing is just damaging the body so much. Something I also did for years. I'm not just like blaming people, right? But yes. So anyway, yeah, check us out. We have In the Image Clothing Company podcast. A lot of times we'll probably just do discussions that are just only on the gospel of Jesus Christ within our podcast episodes, right? Maybe not even touch on clothing at all in certain episodes of the podcast. That's going to be beautiful. We've had a couple episodes so far. They've been really fun, really great. Yeah, so there's your checklist. Okay, not my opinion, but out of personal experience, out of the universal human design, things that will allow the body to do what it would do, okay, without being restricted, because we cannot tell it what to do. All right, try to have your shoes fit too. I mean, the longer they are, the more you have to like try to like excessively lift your toe to like get around the end of it, right? And I'm going to mention one more thing in a second, but just try to have them fit best you can. I mean, depending on the access to shoes you have and stuff, right? That's your case in the country you're at, or the place on the globe, or the resources you have access to at the time, or whatever. Like, if you can't do all of these things, I mean, none of us can ever we can't control anything, right? I can't control anything. He and she, we can't control anything, but the things that we do have like a choice over of what to buy, to wear, this is a checklist of things that universally are needed for the universal human design. There's also something called toe spring, right? If your shoe is like this without it even being on your foot or being like pressed against something, if like you set your shoe down and the toe stays up like this, toe spring, that's very unnatural, and that's actually something that they incorporate within design in certain shoe brands. And again, if you are walking barefooted on the grass, you will not have something elevating your toes. It just changes your entire body, right? The hips are the big one, because the hips are the center vertically. You hinge at the hips, so your upper body's affected from there and your lower body, but your hips are affected from your feet as well, right? And your shoulders also. So I mean, we just have to allow the body to work as a whole. I think that I mean, there's so much more that I could say within this video to like show that I really know what I'm talking about, but I'm not trying to prove anything. I want to though say enough like body mechanic type stuff and workings within the body to where you can know that I really do know what I'm talking about, and I'm not just another like doctor claiming to be a specialist because I sat in a school and read a book. Like, no, I know the body as it is, and that's apparent. And so I mean, you don't have to take my word for anything, but do these things within your own body, and they are truths that will apply to every human for eternity. Okay, no matter what I say or don't say, but I'm just relaying truth. Okay, so thank you. My right knee is kind of, ouch, a little bit bound up from that position for that long. I mean, my body's still going through very slight adjustments as well. I mean, I'm very centered, and that's apparent if you watch my videos, but years and years of patternings, you know, I'm still going through very slight adjustments myself. So, okay, thank you.